Welcome to Showdown. I'm Mark Kasen, and it is Thursday, and that's the 26th of June, and I have with me in the studio today Dea Harris. And Dea, first of all, one of the things I found out about you as we were getting ready to do this is that you went to Cardinal Ritter College Prep High School, which is where I've taught for the last 6 years, and you graduated when?
2005.
2005.
Yes.
And where'd you go to college?
For undergrad, I went to the International Academy of Design and Technology in Chicago.
Okay.
And then for my MBA program, I went to Lindenwood University.
Okay.
As well.
And I also went to Lindenwood for my master's.
Awesome.
And then to UMSL for my PhD. But
Perfect.
yeah, still working on some dissertation things over at UMSL. But actually, that's sort of interesting in itself because I'll tell you this, my dissertation is basically a book, and the name of the book is Why Schools Are Stupid, okay? And the second part of it is how to change educational prospects in America's inner cities, which sounds to me from a little bit of what we talked to about earlier, that this is exactly where you're focusing.
Yes.
Tell me what you're doing and your organization.
Yes, love the name of your book already, by the way, and everything that you're standing for as well. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And yes, absolutely. So Power Uprising is actually a program which is education for marginalized youth. Really what I was passionate about, why I created it, is understanding youth at risk, and to what you spoke to as far as inner cities especially. Youth in marginalized communities are often cut short or overlooked when it comes to the educational system. Sometimes that's just lack of quality education, and also in more of your public schools, especially in the city, there's just a lack of resources overall. Teachers are sometimes overwhelmed, underpaid, and overworked. And I just think the education system as a whole needs some uprooting. And so when I created Power Uprising, I thought about youth in mind. And my first curriculum that I created under Power Uprising is Power Moves in Business and Entrepreneurship. And I really wanted to launch it first in my hometown. Now we've grown more. We're actually in Ghana. We have a global partnership now as well. Okay. Really excited, but started because there was a lot of statistics around youth in St. Louis when it came to suicide, violence, teenage pregnancies, lack of education, or high school dropouts. So I wanted to target teenagers specifically, and I wanted them to see themselves as the solution. So a lot of times they're not in those meetings when you're discussing youth, and I wanted to give them the platform and hear from them directly to see how they saw their community and what solution they would create. So it's an awesome program, and it's grown pretty fast within a year, and they're actually able to research the statistics and problems, the top 10 in their community, and then develop a business solution to that problem based on the research. And then they pitch it to Shark Tank judges. Basically, it's pretty much a Shark Tank simulation.
Okay.
So they pitch it to 5 judges that are highly impactful or influential in the community. And that is their final project. So you saw some of it today, which is great. I was glad you got to see.
Sure, a group of young people talking about their projects, and also with a great audience that was very engaged.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That was excellent.
Yes. And some of those components just in education itself, instead of just learning business and marketing, I needed to engage them. And I think culturally, which is another point you mentioned, they have to be reached differently. It has to be more than X times Y equals Z. So I wanted them to see themselves. So outside of going through research, the problem, the solution, understanding the promotion, your target market, the funding projections, funding required, those are all the aspects of their business pitch. And that's part 1. What you saw today was part 2, which goes a little more in detail with experience. So they get to do their own press interview, their own commercial, and they create their own mobile app versus the first year they do a website. Now they turn it into a mobile app. So it's very exciting. It's hands-on for them. And I think in high school as a whole, there aren't a lot of career clusters. Usually you're doing your gen eds or general education, and you don't really get into your major until you go to college. But what about the students that have no idea what they want to do or major in? So it really gives them an opportunity to have some of those, whether it's business, marketing, entrepreneurship, management, it gives them those experiences at the high school level and prepares them for college more. And when they finish the curriculum, they receive a college credit, 3 college credits for taking the course. So it opens the door, it sparks their mind, but also opens the door for them as well.
Yeah. And in what you're saying, it raises some really important questions for me in terms of, for example, the commonly heard line is that college isn't for everybody, and especially in 2025, and I told you I'd go easy on the politics, but I have to say that Donald Trump has done everything possible to attack universities, Harvard, Columbia, everybody that he can find, and trying to tear down a system in the United States which has been just
Absolutely.
uniquely popular and successful across the world.
Yes.
Blocking out foreign students from coming here, all this
Yes.
business, very difficult. But here's the thing. Young people, yes, they could make some money if they're an electrician or if they're a plumber.
Yes.
Or if they learn the trades, and I make it clear I'm not trying to demean anybody, but I have never come across anybody on the air when I've asked the question, is it okay for your child to do that? Oh no, my kid's going to be a doctor, my kid's going to be a lawyer, my kid's
Yes.
going to be the president of the United States, whatever,
Absolutely.
but not the trades.
Yes.
So talk to me a little about that, about the importance of college education in the United States, and obviously that's where you want to send these kids to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
and
talk
I
about
do understand that for every student, college is not the answer. It's good to learn a trade, but we don't want to limit them either. At least give them the opportunity to think about college and consider it. And I think programs like this give them that opportunity to think beyond. Like, oh, I can start a business. Maybe I want to major in business. And it's very important, even your statement on funding being cut, attacking certain universities and schools with cutting education. That's going to hit marginalized communities more. That's hitting public schools more that are already lacking in funding. So to cut that even more, that affects our youth. That affects brown and black young people directly. And I think you can't limit them and say, oh, you be a good electrician or you should pursue plumbing. I think having the opportunity, bringing them agriculture, bringing them business, bringing them animation, coding, gaming, like these are all programs in STEAM. And I didn't mention that before, it's a STEAM program. So
Sure.
throughout the entire curriculum, they're learning STEAM careers. They should have access to that. And a lot of times they're already overlooked and they're already categorized because of the communities they're in. So I think it's very upsetting to limit them to, and it's not to say that trade positions are horrible. There's a lot of people that did learn a trade, but I think open the entire world to them and let them choose and follow their passion versus limiting them.
Yeah. But again, I have to ask you the same question that I've asked so many people, and I think I know the answer, and I've just said it to you, but if it's your son or daughter, do you want them to be an electrician or do you want them to go off to a really top university?
Absolutely. I would say the sky's the limit, so I'm always going to go to the top.
Of course.
And I'm always, I feel like there's no limit for our young people, and so I'm definitely going to say pursue.
Yeah.
Pursue the doctor, the lawyer, be your own business owner, start your business, and that actually helps the economy. The more businesses that start, you're hiring more people, you're providing more services. So if we're really trying to think about politically, what's needed, we should be doing the reverse, not cutting funding.
Yeah.
Education
Well,
is the start of this.
Of course, we
Yes.
shouldn't be cutting any funding for this.
Yes.
If anything, we should be increasing the
Absolutely.
funding. And in fact, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But let me just say that in terms of college, you went to Cardinal Ritter
Yes,
College
college
Prep.
prep, absolutely.
Okay, and I've been there 6 years, and I say to the kids all the time, college prep, get it?
Yes.
That's where you're going. And I think for the most part they all want to be there, but I don't think they realize how college impacts your life.
It
So
does.
maybe, given what you're doing here, talk to me a little about your view of how college makes you a different person.
Yes, on so many levels. It's really the first time as a teenager where you're really experiencing life on your own. It's like you're not 21 yet, and then really 25 is like the official adult age, you know?
Sure.
So, but I think at 18, going off, and some they may go far away, they may stay in their hometown, but there's still a level of independence that's needed where you truly find yourself. And I know for me, because I also studied abroad during my undergrad, and so I took courses in London for three months for one semester. Okay. And having that experience also with different cultures and being able to just understand business globally, not just in the United States, that was an awesome experience for me. That definitely helped me in my communication skills in business and learning different people. When you have that empathy and you know how different people think, even if it's your target audience or a partner, you know how to communicate better because you've learned them. And communication is key in everything. No matter what industry you're in, you have to learn how to effectively communicate.
Yeah, and it's not just about making money or getting a job or starting a business or any of that, because I'm sure that you can probably sit here and visualize being in that classroom in London.
Yes.
And it's part of you, and it probably has more of an influence on your life than most people would ever imagine, but I'm sure it does, right?
Yes, absolutely. And also because of the cities I've experienced, like Chicago is a faster paced city than St. Louis. And then moving to New York in 2014, after I finished grad school, because Radio 1 was the last company I worked for after I finished my MBA at Lindenwood, and then I moved to New York. So having both of those experiences and studying abroad, it's really sink or swim in New York. You know, so it forces you to be a strong person. Just as a businesswoman, as a Black businesswoman in America, I learned how to stand up for myself more, how to communicate, and really how to fight for what I want. I don't take no very easily. And I think for any young person, you kind of have to leave your comfort zone. So for me, I think college is great for anyone, even if some people, even if they don't finish college, they may experience it for a year and come back or whichever, but I think everyone needs to experience leaving home and experiencing a different culture in a different way, because it's going to push you. Either you're going to say, oh, it's not for me, and you're going to come back, or you're going to adapt to that environment. It's going to make you a better person.
Yeah, and the truth is that I believe that most people that get into college, I don't think they're quick to want to leave. Or I think they want to get the degree, and they start to see things that they don't understand in high school.
Yes.
You deal with a lot of young people. I mean, high school level young people now. So, what do you see in them that clearly we both know that they can't understand as far as college? They can't understand it, but that's because they just have to walk into a college classroom. They need it.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me about that a little bit, about the difference between, say, high school and college kids.
Absolutely. You have to see it. And it's funny you said that, because I'm a business professor. So I do this program for high schools, but I teach business and marketing courses at Southern New Hampshire University.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because some of the curriculum, high school students are taking a college level course. It's very rigorous. And what's usually an 8-week course for my college students is condensed to a 4 or 6-week course for a summer program for high schoolers. So seeing how quick they are to adapt and learn and be hands-on, I think is very commendable. I've enjoyed getting to know all of them individually. And I think it's good for them to understand the challenges ahead too, because I think at the high school level, you're not always ready for the world. And I think this curriculum prepares them for that more. And also, I wish I had a program like this when I was in high school. I loved Cardinal Ritter, but I transferred 3 times during my undergrad. I changed my major 3 times, and I still graduated on time in 4 years.
But people do that.
And
that's normal.
Yes. And I think really for them, they're starting to get it now, but it really comes down to determination, having the drive, having the willpower to finish and get through. And so I think them being able to have this real life, real world experiences now can prepare them and make them stronger for college, because this is a college level course, and they're learning teamwork, they're learning public speaking, how to have confidence, how to thoroughly communicate, but also how to be a leader, because each group has different corporate roles. So they're learning how to be a CEO, how to be a CFO, how to be a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, PR, Communications Director, Product Engineer. So all of them are learning roles. So even if they don't want to start their own business, they can always work for a corporation and understand those different business roles.
Sure.
And that's something college doesn't always, college I think is great for me. It still doesn't prepare you for the corporate world. Once you graduate and you work for a major company, there's still a lot more you have to learn. You're like, why didn't they tell me this in college, you know?
Well, no, that's true,
Yes.
but they can't get everything in there. It's just
Absolutely.
like high school. I mean, we try to do lots of things, but you can't get across to a young person what it's like, the difference between
Yes.
sitting in a high school class and walking into that college classroom.
Absolutely.
It is
It's
so
very
different.
And the culture of that college, whichever college they attend, is different too. So if you're at an HBCU versus an Ivy League, also I want them to be comfortable with, sometimes they might be the only person in the room. They might be the only woman or the only person of color in that room or in their group project, or maybe fewer of them on that campus. So I want them to feel confident in all spaces and still have that voice and know that their voice matters and speak up.
Yeah, the voice part is really important. Is that something that you work on in Power Uprising?
Yes. So on top of just the business curriculum itself, we work on public speaking, how certain posture you should have, how to speak, how to connect with the audience. So actually over the next 2 weeks, we'll actually be practicing at the venue that the finale event will be held. So they'll kind of learn the stage, get comfortable with the room. But yes, always, and not just on a public speaking, but just speaking up. So there's two parts to the voice. There's public speaking and effectively communicating, but also knowing that your voice matters. So I think in week 1, you could tell some of them were a little timid, not speaking up as much, or just being really shy. And we're actually in week 4 now. We have 2 more weeks to go, but I can tell some of them are opening up already. And just being here on set, so thank you to Kevy, he was awesome. I think them being here and getting the action and experience helps that as well, helps them overcome those challenges as well.
Yeah, it's something that they really often are afraid of,
Yes.
but absolutely must get experience
Yes.
in. And the better that they get in it, the better that their lives are going to be.
Absolutely, it's
Yeah.
needed. And I think it's good to start at the high school age so that they're prepared. By the time they get to college, they're like, oh, I've done this already. I've done this a few times.
Absolutely. And listen, I've been in college classrooms, even doctoral level classrooms, where they've got a PowerPoint up and they read the PowerPoint to the classroom. And I think to myself, you
Stop
got to be
it.
kidding, you all. You're not supposed to read that thing.
Yes.
I don't even let kids do a PowerPoint because I know they're going to read it.
Yes.
I tell them, get up in front and tell your story.
Absolutely, and that's so funny. That's one of the #1 things I tell them. Like, you can have your PowerPoint, but remember, those are the notes. That's just for the viewer. Do not read the PowerPoint. So they have their speaker notes, and then they have the PowerPoint. They're very separate, because that annoys me too. I've always been annoyed by that.
They got to get off those papers. Those
Yes.
papers aren't helping them. And plus, if they do any broadcasting, which I know you mentioned here that you had some involvement with Radio 1, but if you get involved in any kind of broadcasting, you should know and learn pretty quickly that if you're trying to look down at notes and talk to somebody,
yes.
all you're going to do is mess your brain up.
It's
and
horrible.
you can't do it. You
Yes.
got to just talk.
Yes, it has to come from your heart and mind. It has to be
Yes.
genuine. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, yeah, okay. So, in doing this, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish?
Ultimately,
I mean, and I'm asking for yourself. Where are you trying to go?
honestly, for me, it's the difference that needs to be made. So I would like for those numbers to grow when I say that a certain amount of students, and it continues to grow, received a college credit. Now they have made it into college, and also not leave them there, but carry them through college to see how they're doing, make sure they have mentorship, because a lot of them will be first generation college students as well, and I think that's very significant. And in addition to the students, I also, just for the business and company as a whole, I would like to continue to grow to every marginalized community, nationally and globally. So I love that we started in Ghana. There's a few other communities that I do want to reach in Africa, but also I think there's a lot of communities that are overlooked. So being that I moved to New York in 2014, I think about the Bronx, I think about Brownsville, I think about Harlem, areas in Queens. So a lot of those, that public school district, they're overlooked and they're judged instantly because of where they're from. And I grew up in North City, St. Louis myself, so I know what it's like to be categorized. And but I had two very strong parents that are both educators themselves, very involved in the community, and they kept my brothers and I very involved. So I want to be able to give that back to other youth. And I think they need to see it. So once I can open their eyes to these experiences, then they know it's possible even more. So I would like to say that by the next really 3 years, and eventually have my own headquarters where we can offer other additional curriculums in addition to Power Moves in business and entrepreneurship, and keep the college credits going and opening more doors, and potentially actually partnering on a college level as well, where they not only receive college credits because they're obviously already enrolled in college, but they could receive potential business funding for their ideas and scholarships as well.
Yeah, and the young people need people like you and the kind of thing that you're working on in order to get some direction on it.
Absolutely.
Because there is no way they can figure it out, and especially until they walk into a college classroom. Yes. In fact, I was over this afternoon. I do a lot of work with WashU in the Black Studies department, and we were talking about there's just no way. I mean, a kid walks into college and it might take them a week or two, but not much more than that, yes, to figure out that they're not in high school anymore. Absolutely. And everything changes in their lives. Yes. And it's so important for us to do that with young people. And if we did that and educated the country more, it would be so productive for us. And you know, one of the things that I've talked about, and then I've got a partner of yours that was here a moment ago, but I guess not now. But at any rate, that's all right. Yes. But you know, one of the things that we did in the United States is after World War II, we sent everybody who fought back into school and paid for everything completely. And so those young people who, of course, had experienced very great trauma in their lives, yes, came back, went through college courses, and in the end, it was all followed by like a 20-year period of the most dynamic growth in the history of the United States. Not like Donald makes up the stories, but the real stuff.
The real stories.
Yeah, and it really changed America in so many ways, and that's why when I hear people say, "Oh, they're not ready for college is not for them," no, that's not true, because everybody that came back from the war probably didn't think that necessarily this was where they were going, but they ended up on this path that really dramatically changed our country. So it changes students, but it also changes communities.
Absolutely, and that's why higher education is so significant. It changes communities. Education is the source of everything. It starts with being educated. And so our future, our young people, the future of the economy, the future of the world, all of that starts with education. Everyone that I've talked to, even some of the previous judges in the program, some of them are returning this year, but everyone you talk to that's successful today, you ask them how did they start, or how did they find that they were passionate about their industry, and I promise you they go back to a teacher or a summer program or after school program or a mentor that helped them cultivate their passion and their skills. And that usually is always starting with the school. It starts with education. Yeah. It's a teacher or a mentor that they met through school, or through these educational programs. So it's definitely significant, and it is our future. And I like what you said too, overcoming those challenges and trauma, no matter what, but you made a significant point. Even in that first year, like it's a culture shock for those who haven't experienced it. Sure. But having that village of people and supporters is what makes the difference.
Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to ask you, because we are running out of time in this segment, sure, is something that I do a lot of work on, which is markets. And it's sort of interesting because you say market, and then some people think of what you do, which is marketing, and that's important. But markets are something else, having to do with how prices get set in our economy at every level. Yes. Do you work on any of that?
As far as pricing, different products? Or?
Things about how markets work and...
More so, I think for me, it's still, even in market research, it's still usually tied to marketing.
Okay.
But kind of
No, that's
understanding,
okay.
but even in our research and statistics, there are certain areas that are more vulnerable or a little more at risk. So that's, it's more like different segments as far as markets that we go through.
No, it's all
Yes.
understandable. The reason I bring it up is because it's a big part of my background in terms of equity and commodity markets and you know how all these different prices are set. And I tell you, top people who you wouldn't believe don't know, for example, how gas prices are set. They think somebody is somewhere is turning a knob.
No.
Or interest rates. They think that somebody like the Federal Reserve is setting the rates. No, the Federal Reserve sets one tiny part of the rates, short-term rates, bank borrowing, that's it. The rest of it is all economic decision-making across the world. And the one thing about our country is we are the most successful economic engine in the world by far, but we don't understand how it works.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
But it
makes
is,
sense.
it's true. I've done a lot of work with professors at all different universities on this, and the professors who really know this area, they say the same thing. You know, they talk about economic literacy, but economic literacy is really today more of what you guys are doing, which is important and great.
Yes.
But there's still that final piece that has to do with how does the price get set this afternoon? When you go buy some gas, why is the price up or down? They hear what's going on in Iran. No one knows.
Yes, and it's so funny. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. We were actually talking about gas prices, Iran, just understanding supply and demand, inflation, how that affects the economy, but also globally. If we're gaining global enemies, how does that affect some of the supplies that we have? Because we know it's trade, tariffs, global trade. So how all of that is connected. And so it's definitely, now at the high school level, I think that you learn that in college, but I'm thinking that might be good for them to understand even more thoroughly
I have to tell you
pricing
this,
too.
and this is so interesting, and maybe we'll talk about it off the air sometime.
Yes.
I got your card. You know, the thing that's interesting, at every school that I've been at, starting with Beaumont High School, and that's 25 years ago, all the way through Cardinal Ritter, I can tell you that young people, especially now with the technology being what it is, they see all those numbers flashing and the charts and graphs and everything, and
stock market,
and they
everything.
want to know, what does it mean?
Absolutely.
They want to know, and no one at any of these schools teaches it.
Yes, it's a really good point. I think that could be an extra. Hey, we might have something here. Could be an extra
Power Uprising.
Yes.
There you go.
Understanding.
Okay,
Yes.
so listen, Dea, I want to thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
I know this was a short notice kind of a deal, but hey, public speaking, not a problem, right?
Yes, thank you. It was so awesome meeting you, and thank you for having me. And I look forward to continuing to connect with you.
I will get in touch with you.
Yes.
I follow up.
Okay,
So
good.
even though my area of economics is in markets, I know marketing too.
Perfect.
Something
Awesome.
happened. I don't know. Somebody made a mistake and put it in. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Dea.
so
I
much. It was
appreciate
a pleasure.
it.
Thank you
bet.
so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
So you can just
Okay.
unhook and
Okay.
so you don't. I hate when people fall over and break their necks here. Yeah. That's always a bad thing. Okay. So thank you, and I am going to talk about on the business side how you can connect with some amazing businesses that support our shows and at the same time can help you in your life. And I'm going to start with the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. And I have to say that, I love the St. Louis Suit Company, which has been in Clayton for 30 years. And that's one thing. If you've been marketing your business and you've been trying to build your business and you're there for 30 years, well, you're probably doing something right. And the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton has done that. They're on the corner of Central and Forsyth, and they've got everything from suits and shoes and shirts and ties, which You know, when I tell people that the tie I'm wearing costs $5 at the St. Louis Suit Company, they go, nah, that's not possible. But it is. And they don't raise the prices. They just keep it at $5. I guess they like the fact that it draws people in to the St. Louis Suit Company. Now, also, if you're getting married, they're great on that, too. They really help men to get set up with their attire for their weddings. And they're famous for it. And like I say, 30 years, they're doing something right. Jay and Nick, father and son, run the business along with the rest of the family as well. You'll love them. In Clayton, that is the St. Louis Suit Company. Now, if you come just a little bit down the road going east, you can find off of Hampton, my good friend Al and his son AJ, they have a terrific jewelry store, and it's called Jewels on Hampton. And Jewels on Hampton, they design jewelry, they buy and sell jewelry, coins, gold, everything. They're really good. And the important thing in dealing with somebody like that is you've got to be able to trust them. And just because I say it, you may not believe it, but if you go in and talk to Al, I think he'll help you build some trust in the work that he does. And I think you'll like his business. They've got cases filled with jewelry. They design their own. They'll help you to design things that you want. And like I always tell people, they are fabulously professional at fixing watches. So there they are on Hampton. That's 4506 Hampton, and that is Jewels on Hampton. Now, if you head back in the other direction, now you're going west. If you get to Creve Coeur, you will find at 141 and Olive, Telena's Italian food. Telena's is just, it's my favorite Italian restaurant, and my favorite food is Italian food. Now, I'm careful because I don't want to gain 10,000 pounds, but I have to tell you, they have great food. My favorite food there is spaghetti and meatballs, and I promise you, if you have spaghetti and meatballs anywhere else in town, and then you go to Telena's, which has been there for 40 years, you're going to find out why they've been there 40 years. Their food is phenomenal. So again, that's Telena's, 141 and Olive, great food, pizza, every kind of pizza you can imagine, and everybody loves Telena's pizza. So go to Telena's in Creve Coeur. Now, finally, if you go a little bit further west to Chesterfield Valley, you're going to find a very, very great restaurateur, and that is Ben, who he and his wife have set up this great restaurant that is Wente's, W-E-N-T-E. Wente's is at 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road, and they run a fabulous restaurant. Now, there, the favorite food, everybody says, is wings, chicken wings. Now, I got to tell you, it's not my favorite, but people love it, and that's good. My favorite is something else. They've got baby back ribs and onion rings, which for me is phenomenal. I love that, and that's what I eat at Wente's, but you can choose what you want. They've got hamburgers and cheeseburgers and great salads and terrific iced tea. Everybody thinks their iced tea is the best. So go to Wente's in Chesterfield, 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road, and you'll love the food. You'll love Ben if you ask for him. He's always interested in saying hi. That's one thing about all these business people. They are there at their businesses. They run them, and that seems to work well. So anyway, that's it. Wente's in Chesterfield. Okay, would you like to join me here a little bit? That is terrific. Okay, so Donnie Harris, yes. We're going to get you your microphone. Oh, you're already? What am I talking about? The people here are so on top of it. What am I even saying? Okay, so you are part of a group called TRIO. It says Educational Talent Search. Donnie, what the hell are we talking about?
Thank you so much. Educational Talent Search is a TRIO program. I am a part of the Higher Education Consortium, and I am the director for this particular TRIO program, and we serve 802 students, mostly low income, first generation, or marginalized. So we want to empower them to access education and to reach their full potential. And oftentimes, if their parents have not been educated, that whole process of getting into college or getting into a certified program to fulfill, your desire as far as a career or college, they don't know what to do. So
Well, they don't know what to do, but don't you think, and I'm sure you do, but tell me, do you think that they're pretty motivated to get their kids into these different
and
programs?
that's why we are there to help
Okay.
them. The parents are definitely motivated, and we assist the students. We just came back from a college tour. We assist them with the FAFSA, completing the FAFSA, college applications, writing essays. We have College Spotlight every month. We have financial literacy every month for parents and students. So we provide different, programs or activities that will help them to be able to get into post-secondary education.
Yeah, and when you talk about the parents and the difference between where they are and where they'd like their families to be, is that your main focus? Is trying to help those parents to get their students towards the direction that they really want them to go to, but they may not know how?
Right. Our focus is to educate the family, and that would include the parents as well, to help them understand the process if their child wants to go to college. We also have 2 sister programs. We have Upward Bound, and they serve about 74 students. They're up close and personal. We partner with them every summer, bring our students together, and have a fabulous Summer Scholars program. The parents, of course, we have the Educational Opportunities program center, and that's for adults. And so adults, if you want to go back to school, if you need to complete an application for college, if you need the FAFSA, or if you just need help with searching for training or a new career. So we also have that program. So
Because the FAFSA can make anybody crazy.
Yes. So
Right?
under the Higher Education Consortium, we have the Educational Talent Search Program, the Upward Bound Program, and the Educational Opportunity Center.
Yeah, the FAFSA is hard to fill out, for anybody, right? I mean, don't you
Well,
think?
especially if you have something different. Now it's all electronic. You can do it online, but if you have, it's a lot to involve both parents
But
sometimes.
that's how you get financial aid.
Right, you have to do it. You have to do it. And so we are here to make sure that every student gets to fill out that application and gets it in correct. And then when they get it back, sometimes people don't understand, well, what did I actually get? It says this, I see the SAR report, but I'm not sure what it's talking about. So we are there to help them in all of that. And like I said, our Higher Education Consortium serves the whole family, the parents and the students.
Yeah. What do you tell young people about student loans versus, obviously everybody would like a free scholarship, but what if they don't have it?
Well, we talk about scholarships. We educate them on, if you get a loan, how it's, that you have to pay that back, and the different ways to pay back the interest for this one and all of that. So they learn all of that, but we focus on scholarships.
Sure.
We help them search for scholarships, write essays. We network with the Scholarship Foundation, several other scholarship programs, but that's the main thing, scholarships, because
that's
most
great.
of them, a lot of students don't go to college because they say, I can't afford that. I can't get a loan. And there are many parents that won't sign for that. They can't do the parent loan.
Yeah.
So.
And I spoke in the last segment with Dea, who is your partner, and
Actually, my daughter.
huh?
She's actually my daughter.
Oh wow! Well, see, what do I know? Okay, but okay. So the deal is that when the students look at these scholarships, for example, your daughter went to Cardinal Ritter, and Cardinal Ritter really focuses on those scholarships, and they get lots of money for those young people to get taken care of. But how about if they can't, if a young person can't get the money through a scholarship, which they often can, but if they can't, are the loans okay?
They're okay, but I mean, the other thing is there's an opportunity to be in the A+ program in high schools, and that gives you basically a free ride in the community colleges. So, you know, if you can't get where you want to go because of the money, go to the community college for a couple of years free.
Yeah. And the community colleges, people don't realize, have many great professors who really provide an excellent environment for young people who want to be in college but are just afraid sometimes or just not ready for the full thing. But
and there's nothing wrong with an associate's.
You
can go beyond that, but at least get into school and get
because you can transfer to a 4-year
Correct.
college
Correct.
easily from those colleges, and plus there's money that's available, free money, in the junior colleges or the community colleges.
Also vocational. You know, we try to focus in on the child's interests and what they feel like they're good at and what's their purpose in life. You know, I believe we all have a purpose, and we try to connect them to what it is they really what brings the passion out in them when they do when they're working on a project, or what subject do they really like or they feel that they're good at. So we're trying to figure out what's best for them and not push something on them. But if they want to go to vocational school, if they want to go to 4-year, if they want to get an associate's, we'll even help them once they graduate, and we stay connected. Once they're ours, they're always ours. And if they want to get into a graduate program, master's program, we also can help them with that.
Yeah, and I've talked to lots of young people about, I almost do this every year, I ask them, if you could be a lawyer and make $75,000 a year, or you could work in a sewer and make $250,000 a year. Well, we know nobody can, but it's just theoretically, would you work in the sewer and take the $250,000, or would you be a lawyer for $75,000? What do you think they say?
I think young people are looking at the money, but when you start that, at some point, it won't be worth it if that's not what your purpose in life is. If that's not what you really want to do, it's going to be agonizing going to work, in the sewer for that. That money won't mean anything if you're miserable.
It makes everybody
that's
miserable
why it's
to work
important.
For the money.
We get to know the student. We do kind of some assessments so they'll sometimes they don't really know.
Yeah.
So we're trying, and it may change. We change things throughout life, but just that guidance as to find out who you are and what really makes you, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? What are the different fields? And so that's where we go with not so much all the money all the time, but what is it that you would enjoy? What is it that you would do even if you didn't get paid?
Has to be, because I can tell you from my experience when I was a kid, my parents had a shoe store. And they wanted me to work in the shoe store and get some experience and be responsible. And of course it was the 60s, and I said, I don't want to be responsible. I'm going to the beach, But here's the problem. I spent a day or two in the shoe store before I said I'm out of here, and watched the clock the whole time. Mm-hmm. And if you're watching a clock, you've got a problem.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you gotta have a lot more going on than a clock. Okay. So for the work that you're doing with your daughter/partner, okay, tell me how people can get in touch with you and why they would want to.
Okay. So to get in touch with me, you can email me at dharris@hecstl.org, or you can get in touch with me by phone, 314-914-2374. And you would want to get in touch with me so that we can become a part of your extended family and help you with your child, or help you as a student to find your purpose in life and to help you navigate that journey so that you can achieve that success that you want to see in your life.
And have you been on Freeman Bosley's show talking about all this?
I have not, but I was in a Day One movie.
Well,
I'm
what-
a retired principal.
Okay, well, from where?
Nahad Chapman New American Academy. So I worked.
Okay.
I was the principal at the school with all of our new immigrants and refugees. If
Very
they,
nice.
Yeah, if they were in the district, in the United States for less than 2 years, they came to our program.
Yeah.
And so I've been. Before that, I was a counselor. So I've been an educator with them for 34 years, and now I've been doing this for 8 years. So that's my purpose. That's my calling, and I want people to have the joy that I have when I go to work. When I work with young people.
I can hear it in your voice. I heard it in Daya's voice too, and I think that we need to get you to come up to Freeman Bosley's
Okay, I would
radio
love
show and talk a little there. You'll love it. It's a little
yeah.
different atmosphere than this, but it's fun. Just a
Yes.
different kind of fun.
And being able to partner and bring this program, that Power Uprising, to the TRIO program has been amazing. That it's a whole. Yeah, this is her second year. This is the second level, like part 2 of what she did last year, and it has been amazing. And the other thing I want to say, I just, they're trying to cut our program.
Okay.
We are government funded totally.
Well,
and
that's
so
a problem.
right. So I'm just saying, we don't, we need your help in getting the word out to advocate for all of the TRIO programs. There are TRIO programs nationwide.
Okay.
Yeah, so these programs are needed to help low income, first generation, and marginalized students have the same opportunities to live out their life to the fullest potential and gain the success they deserve. And we just help them through that journey. Their journey is a little different. They need a little bit more information, a little bit more guidance than,
Sure.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we're in a time where there are some people who want to cut these funds, and they don't care whether it's good or bad or
Correct.
whatever. They just want to cut the funds. We don't have to talk about why. That's not the point. The point is they just want to cut them. And I can also tell you, and Daya mentioned in her segment as well, she was talking about mental health issues
Yes.
in school. And all of the mental health money has been cut in all of our schools, which, what sense does that make?
Makes no sense.
No, but on the other hand, none of this is supposed to make sense to this guy, but I'll deal with all that in my last segment. But again, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And I will get in touch with you and Daya.
Thank you
and
so
we'll
much.
get you up on Freeman's show, and Daya and I maybe will talk about some other ideas as well.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. You can take that off and, yeah, don't worry about it. This was live broadcast. It doesn't, people always worry about it.
I don't know how to take it off.
Yeah, just got to click.
I
get the
should
clip.
know.
There
Yeah,
go.
you should look at the movie Day One. It's a whole documentary about the school and the immigrants and the students from all over.
Yeah, well, I got to,
I'm still live.
yeah, you're live.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't worry. We'll talk again. We'll talk again. We'll see you later. Yeah, the immigration piece is another piece altogether. I love it, but yeah, we'll finish up now. But thank you all. Appreciate it. Lauren, see you later. Okay, so as we come to the last segment this afternoon, headed into the weekend, let me say that one thing that Donald Trump never disappoints us on, and that is that every day he is just the number one liar in our country. And it really is sad, and it's a shame to even have to say those words. I was on Jamie Allman's program this afternoon talking about the fact that he basically runs a neo-Nazi party in the United States. And, when we talk about immigration, for example, we all know the problem, but I'm sure a lot of people don't know that 70% of the people who have been grabbed up by ICE, that's the immigration police, first of all, they're grabbed up by people with masks on, no badges, no identification. Basically, it's an SS Gestapo kind of operation, and it is dangerously impacting the way a lot of people have to live in this country. And you know, you always hear, well, they're here illegally. Okay, true enough. But a lot of them are here illegally for 20 years and longer. Some of them are here 20 years because their parents brought them here as babies, and they have Social Security cards, they pay taxes, they add to the value of our system, they don't take government funding, they actually tend to be the most successful entrepreneurs of all, who come from other countries motivated tremendously to be successful. So that's one part of it, and we'll always talk about that. But here's the other part. Coming into this weekend, we heard a press conference this morning that was so filled with lies, it's just hard to even imagine what it is that we listened to this morning. But the first thing is that they say, well, we blew up everything. It was obliterated. That's the Donald Trump word for this week. But we also know this, that the United States intelligence people have done their initial investigation on what actually happened over in Iran, and they say, basically, about 3 months worth of damage was done, and that within 3 months that Iran can have this operation up and running again. If it's 3, if it's 4, if it's 5, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's not obliterated, and yet Donald is still saying that word over and over and over again, obliterated. And people on his side, they take that word and they run with it, and that's what they're all talking about. But first of all, from the United States government, that is not Donald, but the real people who do analysis of all kinds of things, like what happens when you blow up a mountain, they say that the damage was closer to minimal than to obliterated. They also are under dramatic attack from the Donald Trump people, who are saying that they're the ones who are telling the lies. And then they had another thing that I heard this morning, and I love this one. This is a good one. They explained, I should say Hegseth explained, Defense Secretary, that the initial intelligence that comes from the United States government is always wrong. And you need to go back and listen to that. You can find it on Google in about 10 seconds, YouTube, somewhere out there. It's there. And he said, the initial intelligence is always wrong. He didn't even say is sometimes wrong. He didn't even say is maybe close to being wrong. He said it's always wrong. And that is ridiculous. First of all, why do we even have intelligence people if you're going to say their things are always wrong? But the answer is, in the neo-Nazi world, this is the playbook. This is what they did in Germany. This is what they did in Italy. This is what they do in every authoritarian country. It's what they did for decades in Russia. They make it up. And then they just keep telling the same story over and over again. And of course, historically, it's famous. We call it the big lie. But the big lie is extremely effective, and it's being used today in the United States, and it was used today, just this very day, Thursday the 26th of June, when the discussion was all about what happened in the mountains of Iran, where those bunker buster bombs were dropped. Let me give you a little different take on this bunker buster bombers. I mean, here's the thing. To me, it doesn't even matter. Because if they blew up the entire mountain, and we know that at this point it looks like they sort of rearranged some of the rocks, but let's say they blew up the entire mountain. First of all, there's a lot of talk right now that the material for making bombs was removed from that facility, from the 3 facilities, a couple of days before the bombs came in. Might be true, might not be true, but just the fact that it might be true is a little scary if you're somebody that believes that it was so important that we dropped those bombs on that mountain. But here's the other side. I don't really care about whether they were rearranging rocks or whether they actually blew up some of the Iranian work that's within that mountain, because here's the problem. You go a year down the line, you go 2 years down the line, Iran is going to reconstitute this program. You can't blow up that information that's in their head. They know the technology, they know what it takes. They've got some support from some of the countries around the world, maybe from Russia, maybe from China, maybe from North Korea. They will put that program back together again, whether it's a 3-month delay, a 6-month delay, or a year delay, whatever it is, they're going to put the program back together. So now let's think about something else. What should we have done in the first place? And this is the sad part. I listen to people all day long, and nobody is saying this. Going after the nuclear program was a losing proposition from the very start. And here's why. In North Korea, 30 years ago, the United States made a deal. And the deal was, you don't make these nuclear weapons, and the United States will help you to develop North Korean society. And the North Korean leaders said, sounds good to us, we'll do it. And they signed. This was 1994. By the year 2000, in walked George W. Bush, who was certainly not my favorite president, but don't get me wrong, he isn't Donald Trump. But he was not my favorite president by far. I really didn't like what he was doing. And here's what he did. He ripped up the deal. Now you think about North Korea. If the United States makes a deal, promises you oil production, promises you all kinds of technology, says we're going to help your society, we're going to give you money, all this different opportunity is being put in the face of these North Koreans, and then the next thing you know, the United States government has ripped up the deal? Are you going to trust us anymore? Really? Would you trust us? I don't think so. And so if you're surprised that North Korea feels the way they do about the United States, go read about the 1994 agreement, and you'll have a good idea of why they do not trust the United States. But now I'm going to fast forward you. In walks Donald Trump following an agreement that had been put together very similar to what we put on paper for North Korea. We made this deal with Iran, and we told them, we're going to bring in these IAEA inspectors. They're going to look at everything. They're going to make sure you're doing the right thing. And we're going to, again, stay away from building nuclear weapons, and we'll let you build a program for energy production in your country. And we're going to do some other things to help you as well. And, of course, one of the problems that people have identified, they say, is that we gave them funding for some of their operations. But here's the deal. We ripped it up. We know that that deal was operating fine. Iran was following the arrangement. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy people, they came in and investigated what was happening, and they said year after year, everything is working fine. They're not building a bomb. And then Donald ripped it up. The same way that George W. Bush ripped it up, except for Donald added a lot of really horrible pejorative language. And the next thing you know, Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon, and you would too. They're not going to trust us unless we give them a reason to trust us. And we don't do that. All we do is mouth off about how horrible these people are and how they're going to destroy the world. And honestly, they're not going away. They live there. They're in Iran. They're going to still be in Iran. Would it be better to have a different group of people running the country? Maybe so. But you know, when we try to do this, and we've tried it in the past, you change one government, And the next thing you know, the government that you've got is worse. It's just not good, and it's just what the United States is continuing to do. And even the people who are on my side are saying we needed to knock out those nuclear weapons, and honestly, where's that going to leave us? Not good. Okay, 1 minute left. Let me say this much. Next week, I think we're going to have Alfred Montgomery on the air. Certainly, we're looking at having him come on the air with Freeman and Anthony Shahid and the rest of us on Saturday and Sunday. So you should be able to hear him there. And let me just say, all the people in the United States are well aware of Donald being a 34-time convicted felon and a convicted rapist. He gets to be president. Alfred had some people drive his kids home one day because he had been threatened by death. And he wanted to make sure his kids were safe. And he sent a couple of deputies down to get those kids. And what? Bailey, Attorney General Bailey says he's got to go? I'm sorry. That's not my idea. And we will talk more about that. Next week, check out the weekend show with Freeman Bosley. And I will be back on Monday at 4 o'clock. I'm Mark Kasen. This is Showdown. Good night.